Hey everybody, this is Courtney with Smitty's Fly Box. I'm just going to be going over our intermediate fly for the month, which is our Crawdaddy. Nice little crawfish pattern. We like fishing these ponds, rivers too. We have a lot of crayfish out here in our western rivers that we fish a lot for trout and bass, and this one's a pretty good one. A little jig hook with a big heavy tungsten bead gets down and sits just like that on the riverbed or lake bed, and you can just twitch that thing along the bottom. So it's a fun pattern to tie and a really good one to fish as well. I like to start by adding just a few wraps of, this is 0.015 lead, and this does not come in the box, but you're welcome to add some lead to it if you'd like, lead or lead-free wire. I'm going to add 8 or 10 wraps there and just push that up against the bead. Again, that tungsten bead's very heavy anyways, but this just helps keep that hook right, so that when it's on the bottom of the riverbed, it's going to angle like that and sit true like a crayfish would as it's kind of experiencing some type of threat or danger. They'll sit up like that and move around and then dart when they go to swim. So anyways, we're going to start our thread here just behind the lead. I'm just going to kind of build a little thread dam here just up against that lead. You could add a little bit of glue here as well. Then I'm just going to bring my thread down to my tie-in point. I'm going to go slightly into the bend of the hook here. And what we're going to do first is we're just going to build up a little dubbing ball to kind of help prop and bump the antenna and the legs out. So what I'm going to do here is just take a little bit of this brown crayfish kind of leech dub, and we're just going to create a small little thread bump or dubbing ball. It's a little bump for our materials to prop up against, so it doesn't have to be super clean and neat. It's going to be kind of a buggy, ratty fly anyways. I just create a nice little bump here right at the back end of the fly. Again, that's going to help us prop our legs and our claws and our antenna. So just right there, right on the bend, kind of coming up around to the hook shank. Then I'm going to take my orange silicone that I've got here. It's going to act as our kind of our antenna, little movement to the fly as well. I'm just going to place those just right on top, and as I do that, I'm just going to get those out so the legs are just a little bit longer than the hook shank is. Place those right on top of my dubbing ball. Bring my thread over with a loose wrap. As I come down, I'm just going to block those from rolling with my index finger, and then pull tight and get those situated. 3 wraps there, and then I can move these kind of however I want. You see how that dubbing ball will prop those up a little bit, and then I'm just going to trim those down and tie over the excess, basically right up to where that lead's at. Come back down, and that'll keep those antennae nice and propped up and away from fouling with the hook. And then we're going to tie in our claws next. So I'm just going to use these little pieces of this kind of burnt orange rabbit zonker strip, and I like this color here. It just kind of gives off a really good crawdad type color. I'm going to take a leather hide length, so it's going to be the length of the hook. I just measure off that. It's a little longer than that. I can trim it at the end. I'm just going to tie that in. Just take the very end of that, make sure the hair is oriented the right way. The hair should be flowing to the back of the fly, out the tail, and I'll bind that on there with 3 good wraps. Again, that's right to the side of that dubbing ball, and then I'll take the next one here and do the same thing. Tie that guy in, 3 wraps, and we have that nice and situated there to where those claws and those antennae are just separated apart, and they're forming a nice little V there, and creates a lot of movement as that's going through the water. Okay, next thing we're going to tie in is just some copper brown wire. I'm just going to place that right on top of the hook shank and just tie that on up the hook. And now we're ready for our dubbing. So again, I like to keep this pretty consistent body here, so I want to try to keep the body as even as I can with the amount of dubbing. So I'm going to roll this on nice and tight. We're going to brush it out at the end to make this buggy dubbing really move for us, but I'm just going to roll that on as tight as I can. and then we're going to start building out this body nice and consistent. Make sure I cover up my thread wraps here from tying those claws in, and I'll just start moving forward. So try to get the same thickness or width as that bead as I'm moving up, so it takes a little bit of dubbing to move this forward. But I just love the look of this shaggy type dubbing when you brush it out. Just adds a nice little bit more character to the fly too, and that rust color really gives off a good crawdad style vibe. And just a little bit more here. You don't have to go right to the bead, you can leave a little bit of space there because we're going to add that felt in for the shell, and then I usually add a little bit more dubbing at the end anyways, but we'll see where this takes us. So I'm going to stop right about there. Okay, and I'm going to use my rotary vise here and just flip this over. If you don't have a rotary vise, you can just flip the hook over in your vise and do this. So now I'm going to take this felt, and this felt's going to be about the width of the body, so what I've built out. So again, just a little wider than the bead really is what I'm looking for here. This is just going to create our shell back on how the crawdad has a little crustacean shell. So I'm just going to hold that. I'm going to take this one end, I'm going to push it right up against the bend of the hook here. We'll trim that in just a minute. Hold that on top and just bring the thread wrap around. Just do 2 wraps just to secure it. Now we're ready to bring our wire around. So as I do this, the wire is going to naturally want to push that felt around the hook. So I'm going to just re-straighten that out, position it so it's straight on top. I'm going to come with my thumb and index finger and kind of hold that felt down against the hook band. Then I can come over with that wire, and as I come down on the far side of the hook, the near side on the camera for you, and pull down tight, now it's locking that felt in place. And then I can just keep doing that. I'm just going to kind of just help hold that so it doesn't roll over. As I come down, I pull tight, and then we start to get the nice little segmented body. So loose as you come around, and then tighten it as you pull down and come back under the fly. So you should be able to get 4-5 wraps here. I'm just going to go up here, so I'm do that last wrap just right where I tied that felt down, and then I'm going to use the slot of the bead. I'm going to hold that wire up against the slot and then bring my thread up and over to anchor that wire in place. Come in here with Steve's scissors and trim those out. And then I just make sure I clean that up, make sure there's no wire ends sticking out. I'll trim this down. I just like to do this kind of as the tail or the head of the fly, really. Or yeah, the tail. Right there. Just leave a little nub sticking up. I'm going to come under here too and trim out this, what would be the head of the crawdad. Trim that out so it's not interfering with any of the hook gap. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more dubbing here, just because I like it. Just right in between the felt and the bead. Then we can whip finish. Trim out my thread. And then we'll take our dubbing brush, and then I just really get under here with that Velcro brush and just really brush that stuff out. So like I said, it's really buggy. It's good stuff for bigger nymphs, streamers, especially these crawdad patterns. And it just kind of acts as those other legs on it. I'm not an entomologist, I don't know how many legs they have, but I know they have little legs on the side and sit there and move. So I try to brush that out so the bottom's kind of flat, and then those fibers kick to the side. So you end up with a nice little crawdad pattern. So that's the Crawdaddy. It's been a fun pattern to fish and tie. I think this is about the 3rd rendition of it, and this is the one that's stuck and the one I like to fish the most. So you can trim your claws up to make them even on both sides, but that's it. Hope you guys enjoy that one, and good luck fishing it.